All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of James Bond Bitcoin Live. Let me see what episode this is. 0044, hashtag panic. And so I have Brian here with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Brian.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to James Bond Bitcoin Live. We're happy to have you here tonight.
Excellent. Okay, let me see if I cut you off. Okay, there it is. All right, so here we are. So Brian, here's my meme for today, and we'll go over some other stuff as well. Let's see, what are we going to go over for this week here? BTC-e reborn as WEX. JP Morgan buying Bitcoin, or supposedly the allegedly buying Bitcoin, and I think we talked about that in the pre-show a little bit. And then we'll go over the exchange halting, Chinese exchanges halting trades. And we'll talk a little bit about what I call the dead cat bouncing. And then the last thing we'll talk about is some Flashcoin, because I know you and I, we kind of participated in an airdrop using our Coinami wallets, and we got a few thousand, and you got almost 10,000 worth of Flashcoin. So we'll go over that at the end here. So
all right, sounds good.
Now, do you know who this person is? This picture of this meme that I'm showing?
She looks like she's sad because she used the wrong color red hair dye.
Well, yes, she did use the wrong color hair dye, but
I do not know who that is. Who is she, James?
well, this woman, if you've been around since 2013, you might know her, but if you haven't, it's a fun, embarrassing story, a part of Bitcoin history. She is Abigail Scarlett, also known as, let me see, Bitcoin Abby. I have a link of the Reddit post of her airing her dirty laundry with the community, with, I believe at the time, her lover, and also links of the different articles. I think, let me take a quick look. What Cointelegraph, Pedal Pixel, Crypto Coin News. Those are just three. There's probably more, but her story is kind of interesting, and I like to share it. I'm actually just sharing it with you, Brian, but I'm sure there's other people who might watch. But she was a supposed photographer who was taking photos for, I guess, I wouldn't say call them a company, but it was known as Fork the Bank. And this is back in 2014, when all the Bitcoiners were against the banks and we were revolting, and we had delusional dreams, and I guess some of us still have delusional dreams that you could become your own bank. You don't need the banks anymore. This is very much the theme at the time. And she was getting paid in Bitcoin for being a photographer, and she was going to live on Bitcoin for 6 months.
And this was in 2013, you said?
2013, 2014, somewhere around that time frame.
Okay.
Well, later on, if the link to the Reddit post, if you go there, I think this came off her YouTube channel, and the video's not there. If you go, let me see if I can show it here, actually right here. If you go to the Reddit link, this is it right here. It's titled AbbyBitcoin Manipulated by Unphotogenic Bitcoin Entrepreneur. And don't bother with the links because they're gone. It's almost like it was wiped out of history. Thank goodness for Reddit archive, because something like this happened, and it was hilarious at the time. Very Bitcoin in the way it was done, but Apparently, let me see here. Okay, so having watched the video, I'll read parts of this. Having watched the video, I find it very amusing. The bloke, Ingo Press, or Ingo Plez, that was the guy's name who was pushing the fork the bank, but literally found Abby when she was in a mental hospital and set her out to be the face of a marketing campaign to promote this fork the bank project. And so later it turns out that this whole charade was basically a marketing ploy, and they were trying to raise money for Fork the Bank project, and it may have turned out that it might have been a scam all along, and people were not getting paid and everything. So go check that out if you don't know anything about it. And so there's my Mimi for today. Here is I'm so sorry, and she kept apologizing a lot. She felt really bad. I mean, I don't know if there was a scam going on, but at the time there was a lot of things like this in the Bitcoin space. And of course, I got my infamous yes to X. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then my little meme, I hate you, you fucking bastard. And that was, I guess, her hatred for her former lover.
So how should we take this meme? What story are you telling? How does it relate to today and hashtag yes2x?
Well, it doesn't. It has nothing to do. I think it was just funny, and I just wanted to show that with everyone, for especially the old timer Bitcoins who remember this. If you're a new person and you're a noob and you don't know, check this out, because I like showing the embarrassing parts of Bitcoin history, because it really shows a lot of, how things have evolved in this space. And it seems like we forget the past. And I guess my theme is those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. So I guess that's the theme. And me being an observer and also experiencing some of this, it just brings back some memories in which some of the shorter videos, the 10-minute videos that I'm doing, I'm trying to explain or convey to people that bear markets happen all the time, and prices don't go up forever. And if you've seen some of my recent videos, some of the recent live streams, I'm trying to ease the mind of newcomers and people who have been in the space for some time, that this is natural. Matter of fact, if people were waiting on the dip, well, I think you're about to get a good dip here. You've already gotten one good dip, and I think, Brian, you definitely try to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I'd wanted to. I'm just not in a position to capitalize on things the way I'd like to.
Okay, understandable. But I wouldn't feel bad, because I think there's more dips coming. And so you'll be able to take advantage of the discounts. And I wanted to talk about that as well, because when the price goes up, everybody complains that they're waiting for the dip. The problem is, when the price is going up, you're never going to get the dip. You'll be waiting for a long time, and by the time the dip happens, well, the price may not go back up for a couple of years. And then you get another situation where people have what I call paralysis by analysis, in which they realize that there's no longer a bull market, and they got their dip that they've been waiting for a very long time. But now that they realize that the bull market could be over, they'd never buy back in. They never capitalize on the lower price, getting more Bitcoin. And that continues on for a long time, especially when the bear market kind of takes hold. And you get another paralysis by analysis. Now they're waiting for the bottom. So when the bull market happens, they miss out. They're waiting for the dip. When the dip happens, now they're waiting for the bottom. But the problem is you don't know when the bottom is, because you only know when the bottom happens because the bull market has begun again. And it's a vicious cycle. So they waited for the bottom, but they didn't know when the bottom was because they missed the bull market, or they missed the starting of the bull market. And then you get a repeating, self-fulfilling prophecy. You go into a full circle where now you're waiting for the dip again. And so these people are just waiting around forever. They never really, pull the trigger on anything.
Well, hopefully your analysis of more a further dipping to come will actually happen, and maybe they can break their cycle and just get in.
I hope so. I hope so. If anything, dollar cost averaging works really, really well in a bear market. Just set aside just a little bit amount, and just make your purchases. And over time, you'll probably average out to the right price that you would have probably bought in, instead of trying to lump sum into the bottom of the price, which, again, you don't know when the bottom is, because when the bull market starts again, only then you'll realize, okay, we've hit a bottom, but that was the past, and you missed the opportunity. And you'll get into that cycle of you're perpetually waiting. You have a paralysis by analysis. So, but let's go on to the next subject here of BTC-e. BTC-e was reborn as WEX. Have you heard about that? I know I just brought it up to you earlier today when you asked about what the show was.
Yeah, the only thing I had not heard about it until you brought it up, and then I did a little looking up of what WEX was and what the plan was, and it's pretty interesting. There had been rumors that BTC-e was going to come back, right? And this is their journey back into the crypto space. They're going to, I believe they're going to run it for a test period of a couple of weeks at limited volume, and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I went and took a look at it. It has the same look as BTC-e. It had the same look as everything about it was almost the same, except the name. Instead of BTC-e, it was WEX. Interestingly enough, I still haven't heard or gotten any real confirmation that anybody was able to withdraw their coins when they first offered it. So I'm not sure, how true or false these claims are. The only people who are confirming their withdrawals are the people who basically put up the post. I saw it on Reddit, I believe. I think their Twitter mentioned it. But other than that, I don't know anyone who actually got any withdrawals per se. And when I did go to the site, WEX, their prices at the time, Bitcoin was at 3,800. Their price for Bitcoin was at 4,000. So right off the bat, something told me it's not right. Something's not right. This exchange obviously had a huge loss. There's so much risk in going back to this exchange. And the fact that they're offering a higher price for your Bitcoin tells me that they're in desperate need of Bitcoin. The other thing is, I'm not even sure if this is really BTC-e. It has a different name, and maybe for a good reason. Maybe they found some investors, put their Bitcoins up, and they knew right away that at least 55% of their Bitcoins might be withdrawn right away from the users who come back in. But even then, I'm not even sure if that's confirmed. and it may be a whole new set of Bitcoins with a whole new set of investors. It could be the people who started BTC-e, but with a whole new business entity. So this may not be BTC-e per se, but I think it's still a huge risk, because if it is the same people, I mean, there's a huge risk that this site might be seized along with the Bitcoins on this exchange as well.
Now, they started up the Wex coin as well, right? To work in the exchange.
Their token?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had their socialized lost token, just like they did with Bitfinex did the same thing, and then you could trade that pennies to the dollars if you wanted to, and someone else could buy into it as well and hope that they'll be made whole at a later date, and then be able to use that token to hopefully cash out or maybe buy Bitcoin, whatever. But even then, that's quite a risk. It is quite a risk to do that.
What you were saying a second ago, that it may or may not be a different company. Wex is claiming that it's unrelated to BTC-e.
Okay. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. And then you know, I still wouldn't trade on that exchange, because whether they claim to be unrelated, the fact that there are returning users' funds from the old BTC-e account, and again, it's not confirmed. It could also, you know, and I think the exchange also is requiring know your customers and anti-money laundering policy, so they're gonna want your identification. And so anybody who was using BTC-e for nefarious purposes obviously aren't going to go there and claim their coins, although they did offer it at a discount to go in there. But again, there's no confirmation. So this is going to be interesting. I would not I would not touch that exchange. Just the fact that they're offering Bitcoins at a higher price, it is very risky at this point in time. And I just wanted to do a follow-up on that story, because I've been kind of following it from our last episode, and trying to get a better understanding, because this is all Mount Gox all over again. You know, it's so weird. A little bit of Mount Gox, but a little twist to it. It's Mount Gox related. But do you have any thoughts on that before we move on to the next subject?
Well, when I was looking it up, every single article everywhere that talked about it, that Wex was stressing the know your customer and anti-money laundering laws. And that makes sense they would be doing this, because, you know, they got taken down because those, and apparently, as we both know, it was being used for nefarious purposes, as you said. So if they're going to make a comeback, they have to go out of their way to make sure everybody knows they're following the law, and hopefully, you know, they'll be able to continue. But that doesn't matter. I wouldn't put any money in there anyway.
Yeah, you know, definitely don't put any money into that exchange. It kind of becomes pointless, because it's not really BTC-e anyways, and it's not anything like the former BTC-e, or what I would call BTC for short. So I think we can just say rest in peace, BTC. I hope this new Wex entity does well. It seems to be they're running out of New Zealand, because they have it's a wex.nz as their domain name. And hopefully they won't get seized for just being associated or even looking like BTC-e. But I think they're going to get some questions, very hard questions on you know, or be scrutinized at least, just because they look so similar to BTC-e.
Yeah, they mirrored the site. It's not just similar; it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. So good luck to you, Wex, and I wish the best for you, and hopefully you can redeem and make the former BTC-e BitC customers whole again. Is my best wish to them. So we'll go on to the next subject here, which is J.P. Morgan Chase buying Bitcoin. Now, you did some research into this, and I think you found that that's not quite the case.
Yeah, the headlines are a little misleading because I looked into it and it said that they had ETNs. So I looked up these ETNs, and they're exchange traded notes. And these aren't even Bitcoins. They're notes that reference as their price the price of Bitcoin. To really make it clear, one article I found back in July was talking about a provider of ETNs out of Sweden who was commenting on what to do with the pending fork in August. And they said, none of our customers will have to worry. They don't hold Bitcoin. They hold Bitcoin exchange traded notes, which will not be affected because they're not Bitcoin. So to me, it seems like Chase didn't buy any Bitcoin. And if they didn't buy any Bitcoin, then it seems to reason that they are not being hypocrites, or at least the CEO.
Yeah, it's amazing the what I would call BS fake news that comes out in reaction to what Jamie Dimon, you know, said in an interview. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I did this meme. Is this is the kind of ridiculous bullshit that this community spouts sometimes. This person, this lady, Abigail Scarlett, Bitcoin Abby or AbbyBitcoin, was really touted at that time for being, the first photographer ever to accept Bitcoin, who lives off of Bitcoin for 6 months. But in reality, it was just a marketing ploy. It was just that, a ploy. And how easy it is to you pay these news articles money to run this so-called story, which is pretty much was a facade. And then you pump it out there into social media, and people buy it up. They don't question it. They don't think about what they're reading, and does it really make sense? And just like the JP Morgan story buying Bitcoin, it didn't make any sense. Like, after Jamie Dimon specifically says any of my employees who trades Bitcoin is going to get fired, do you really think that all of a sudden this story breaks out where, oh yeah, JP Morgan bought Bitcoin? What a hypocrite. That it just seemed kind of weird, because I know JP Morgan's, the banking industry stance against Bitcoin, and Jamie Dimon has always been against Bitcoin, has always been against Bitcoin. And so trading ETNs is not trading Bitcoin. I mean, there's probably an ETN for just about anything out there. ETN for currency, ETN on Bitcoin. There may be an ETN, maybe on these altcoins. Who knows? As long as it's available and it's tradable and you can make money, it's regulated, probably somewhat regulated in the financial markets. You could probably trade it.
Now, what this does say to me is that traders at JP Morgan Securities Limited, which was the entity that made the purchase, and I'm looking at a screenshot from one of there's a tweet sent out by @IamNomad that kind of sparked all this. And he had taken a picture, and it does look like this is on the Swedish company that I had researched earlier, using their Bitcoin XBT, that's X Bravo Tango. So what it tells me is these folks at JP Morgan Securities understand that the price was going to go back up from where they bought it. Now, it'd be interesting to see when they let go of their ETNs.
Yeah, you know, they're just holding a tradable note. They're not really holding Bitcoin, so
Right,
I
but
don't see
that
any
it
value.
the note is pegged to the price of Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Right. It should be priced to some index. And I guess they're
Right.
they're they're indexing it to that Swedish company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
NXBT is the name of the product. So that means that if if a trading securities group purchases something, they believe they're going to be able to make a profit off of it at some point, right? So they must think the
Well,
price is going to go up a little bit.
yes, I guess you're right. But in order to profit off of it, they also have to sell it and
Well,
lock in their gains. So you know, it wouldn't be surprised to. I wouldn't be surprised if they start selling their exchange traded notes pretty soon or at some point. Um, you know, to hold on to something that's not Bitcoin, but is just priced in Bitcoin, it would have been far better if they just bought Bitcoin. But of course they didn't. So my thinking is they're just trading on the volatility, and they will sell their position at the right time.
yeah, and that's why I said it'll be interesting to see when they let go of those ETNs.
Yeah, I guess we can. If somebody out there wants to track it, that would be a really good signal to smart people who trade to realize maybe they can use that information to do their own trades. Because if that's the case, these people at JP Morgan, they're probably smart enough to make money on trades. They even may have some inside information that is incentivizing them to make these trades.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting. Another thing could be that they could be trying to just force the market down. So you buy them at a low price, and then maybe you've heard some news or something, or you know that it's going to bounce back, and then later on, as it hits a certain price area, they'll just sell the crap out of these notes, which may take an effect to that exchange, and then that exchange, I don't know if they actually hold any Bitcoins, but somebody's got to take the other side of that trade, and that eventually may affect the price of actual Bitcoin exchanges, which will affect the price of my Bitcoins. So they could be like dumping. What do you know how many notes they bought, or how much dollars worth? Does it
Well,
say anywhere?
actually, there is a nice little chart here. And I think one of the articles said they were the ones that bought the most of them, but that's incorrect as well because they're like number 4 on a list here that starts out with Morgan Stanley, and it looks like they bought 165,786. Nordnet Bank, 159,868. Avanza Bank, 180,874. JP Morgan Securities Limited, 19,102. And then Credit Suisse runs out the top 5 with 9,254. So the top 3 uh, buyers had like 7 to 8 times as many ETNs purchased as JP Morgan did. Now, it also on here shows that they sold 99. So it looks like, they've been doing this for a while. It's not a new thing. Somebody just noticed and misunderstood, and it became news.
Yeah, that's a typical Bitcoiner story. You know, they'll take any information they can to what I would call preach to the choir. Just to get people's hopes maintained. Uh, and in my opinion, in a what seems like what I would what I would call some bearish sentiment towards the market, but that's just me. Um, that's some good news. So I think maybe we should just be watching what these people do with these electronic traded notes, and that might be a good indicator on how to play the markets for people who actually do trade real Bitcoins. So this may be a good pot of gold here.
Yeah, these traders more than likely have friends who are whales and might have an inside track on when their buddy's going to sell a few thousand Bitcoin and know the price is going to go down afterwards. So then they can get their ETNs and get their profits and get out. So yeah, we should keep an eye on this.
Yeah, that's a good that's some good digging you did. That's pretty good, Brian.
Thank
Um,
you.
so next one is China exchanges halt Bitcoin trading, or they just halt their trading, or they will. It seems like all the exchanges are taking a stance on when they're going to stop, and hopefully the rumors are that they're going to restart again as well. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I would first of all, I think that after the announcement, that's one of the reasons we kept seeing further drops in the Bitcoin price. And it's, well, first of all, has too much invested in mining equipment and mining power to just get rid of Bitcoin from its country. They and Russia have been kind of harsh toward it, I guess, but there's too much going on over there for them to shut down the crypto space entirely. I've heard, there are always rumors coming out of China about how they're going to crack down on this or crack down on that for their citizens. And often, of shutting the thing down entirely, they put a bunch of strict laws on whatever the thing is. So the people are just happy they still have the thing, upset about these strict rules that have been put in place on that thing. And I think it applies here too. They're giving all this, all the exchanges by these dates and this and that. And it is possible they could do the same thing they've done every other time, which is not get rid of the thing that offends them entirely, but regulate the heck out of it, and everybody's happy.
Well, I hope that's the story. I hope that's what really happens. They're planning on regulating it because it kind of was an unregulated market, even though they've implemented know your customers and anti-money laundering policies with the exchanges. Beginning of the year, they halted withdrawals. And oh, by the way, the word for today is withdraw. So, and maybe Brian, you like to give a word of the day, maybe sometime a little bit later if you have some time to think about it. But I'm hopeful that this will bring more, I guess, order into the cryptocurrency space. I think a lot of it was getting out of hand with the ICOs, and I think that's what really drove the regulations to the exchanges. And so, Bitcoin has already been trading. Litecoin has been trading. Ethereum was the only thing that was really introduced this year, and along with Ethereum came all the ICOs. And all the ICOs is, I think, what really drove regulation into this market. So basically, these people, 99.999%, were probably in it just to scam money. Their greed and their lust for money is what drove regulation into this space. And I think because of that, mining, there's rumors now that mining might be regulated. What are your thoughts on that, on mining being regulated in China? Because I had someone leave comments in my previous videos that the mining industry may be nationalized.
Well, I wouldn't put it past China to nationalize mining by any means. I'm not for sure how you would regulate mining otherwise. Like, they would end up having underground Chinese Bitcoin mines if that happened. It'd make for a good movie, actually.
Well, like they would require mining pools to know your customers. Same thing, know your customers, anti-money laundering. So anybody who joins the pool has to give up their information. Now, you could probably solo mine, which is ridiculous. You could maybe perhaps have a miner pointed outside of China if you can get past its firewall. Maybe, maybe not. Um, but if the root of all Bitcoins being created is through mining, and they're trying to stop, you know, um, money laundering, uh, capital flight outside the country. I was watching a video where someone explained like why would Chinese crack down on Bitcoin so hard, like why now, and why so harshly, like what they're doing now. I thought it was ICO, but he made a point where people, there's a lot of Chinese investing into Canada and America and all over the place, and essentially what they're doing is they are borrowing money, they're taking out loans, and then they're defaulting on their loans and then leaving the country. Is what as how he explained it, and I never thought of it. You could perhaps get a large loan, a business loan or a personal loan or whatever kind of loan that you want in China, and you could like say, well, I'm going to build a factory, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you end up just purchasing a whole bunch of Bitcoin and then dumping into the Canadian market or the US market or whatever market all over the world, and then converting that to cash, and then just buying your whatever you want. You want your Lambos, you want your nice houses, you want and then eventually just leave or file for bankruptcy in China if there is such a thing. And you could say, well, I don't have any money, but really you may have like millions and millions of dollars in Bitcoin, and maybe a nice house and some of this outside the country which nobody knows about, that your maybe relatives own. And so that may be another thing, because when it comes to money, people will game a system. People will ruin their own credit score just so that they could enrich themselves.
What really troubles me about what China is doing is that we've discussed this in the past, even before the SEC made their announcement about ICOs and cryptocurrencies, is that the same path that China is taking may end up happening here. China's doing this for the good of their people, right? They they allowed Bitcoin and Litecoin to go on for a while with no problems. And like you said, as soon as Ethereum and the ICOs got there, they had to start enacting rules and cracking down. And they didn't just stop with Ethereum. And that's the problem. If they nationalize mining or whatever they do, it'll they're stepping into the Bitcoin space using Ethereum as the foot in the door. And I've said this in the past that I'm afraid the SEC will somehow use Ethereum and the ERC20 tokens as a foot into the door of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. And it's amazing. It's different, of course, here in the U.S. and some of the Western countries, Europe and even Canada. They have a different approach. But in China, it's totally different. I've always kind of bagged on China for various reasons. I talk about in my past videos about Tiananmen Square, how they will just roll out with soldiers and just start pointing an AK and shooting. And is that a country where you want, Bitcoin to have people to have big control over Bitcoin. And that was my concern when this whole debate over uh, increasing the block size, the Chinese miners versus the community. Now that you got regulators coming in, well, I wouldn't call them regulators, I call them authorities. I think people have no concept of how things are done in China. You don't really have a voice. You don't really have a choice. Um, you don't have any rights. I always made this claim that you're nothing but property in China. You're property of the state, and if they say to do something, you do it. It's really really different over there, and I can understand why, because they have 1 billion people, and they need to manage these billions of people, and they need to manage it in a way that you can't use a democracy. You can't take a vote. You have to be authoritative. You have to say, this is how it's going to be done, and this is how we're going to do it, and that's it. And I think people in America don't understand that. And when you look at Chinese mining, when you look at the Chinese exchanges, they're run differently, and it's not the same here. And so when people have this perception that the Chinese have the same incentives and the same kind of beliefs, no, they don't. They don't have the same incentives. They don't have the same beliefs. Their thinking is way different, and they like to be told, in my opinion, they like to be told what to do, and they like to be told how to do it and when to do it. And so Bitcoiners should keep that in mind, that just because you like freedom and you like having a decentralized system and anarchy and all this other, what I think is sometimes silly bullshit, other parts of the country don't have that luxury, and Bitcoiners should keep that in mind.
Yeah, James. There is a reality behind China, and when you are born into a situation like a totalitarian regime, that's all you know. You do look for that, and maybe people watching now heard you just say that, like, the people want to be told what to do, and they don't understand how that could happen. Well, it happens when you're born into a system where you're told what to do. One's born into freedom and it has that innate urge to exercise it or to for granted as we do.
Well, Brian, what I wouldn't say I fear this, but I do recognize this as being a threat to my way of life, is that I do think that the Chinese will take over the world. And because they have a system that works, it's not the system that I'm used to. It's probably not the system that you're used to, but I'm pretty sure that it's a system that probably a third of the world is used to, and that's the state telling you what to do. Although the Chinese have taken it to the extreme, they have literally they haven't taken it. Well, they've taken it more extreme than the Russians. But the Russians don't even, in my opinion, don't take it to the extreme that the Chinese does as far as labor, social engineering, and their control over the masses. And China has a unique situation where they just have a lot of people, and that right now, the way they're doing it is probably the most efficient way. They are highly centralized, highly authoritative, and like I said, when the people are literally a part, they are property of the state, but it works well. And I think as time goes on, the threat to me is that the way the Chinese operate may one day be the way we operate here in America and in other places. I think Canada is almost halfway there. Parts of South America have already adopted this kind of philosophy of running a state. And so, I think wherever you see crowded, dense population, that kind of thinking starts to take hold.
You know what? There's another country that has over 1 billion in population. That's India. If we see India move toward that type of government, then we need to be very worried.
Well, India is supposed to be the largest democracy, but from what I could tell, I've never been to India, but from what I could tell, it doesn't seem to be democratic in any way, because they just had their little fiasco with demonetizing their currency, which was horrible. Really, hit the poorest people who don't have bank accounts. And Bitcoin seems to be taking off, or starting to take off, in that country as well.
Well, it seems like when allowed to, in countries where there's economic stress and depreciation or devaluation of the national currency, that the people turn to Bitcoin, and that is a beautiful thing. That's one of the reasons it was made, I believe.
Yeah, the good news is, at least for Bitcoin, is I think China will still allow peer-to-peer trades. But that's also a little concerning for me, because I do peer-to-peer trades here in the US, and I have to admit, I was probably targeted by law enforcement. I was probably followed, surveilled, and all that, and of course supposedly without my knowledge, knowing. But in a country like China, it may be a different story. You may end up going to a meetup and you may never walk out. You may just disappear. You know, these things do happen in China, where you get arrested for having a different political belief, uh, having a different religious, or just even having a religious belief. And so, these are the dangers of being a Bitcoiner in another country, which I think a lot of people take for granted in this country. You know, they don't do enough. The peer-to-peer trade is not really emphasized as much as it used to be, in my opinion, compared to maybe 2013, where exchanges were not, or were very difficult at the time to get an account. And so, um, the peer-to-peer trade market is supposedly legal, but I think another thing to watch out for is China cracking down on Bitcoin traders on a peer-to-peer level, because I've seen it done here in this country with Michael Espinoza being, I think he was probably the most innocent victim of that. There was some other people that were not so innocent and were arrested for money laundering, was the main charge. But a lot of innocent people did get caught up into this thing. Um, so it's going to be challenging, I think, for China with these exchange halting, or the exchange bans.
So, if they centralize mining, then they'll probably end up having a centralized exchange. And then they'll know everyone that purchases the Bitcoin, and they'll track it. And I guess they'll feel better because they'll be in control.
Yeah, they'll be in control. And I have a little theory, and I don't know, we could play around with this theory, that China is starting to, I guess, maybe nationalize or take more control of the Bitcoin in China, or they're starting to take control of the exchanges. They may start taking control of mining. um, which leads me to my #yes2x portion of this live stream. They may be, making way to have their own China coin. I mean, it's been rumored. We've talked about China coin as being this, larger block size Bitcoin, which there's Bcash, but even Bcash via BTC has halted their trading. Maybe this is a way for the government to push out all the other coins to make a little monopoly for SegWit 2x coin, just for China.
Quite possibly. And all that electricity that's being used for Ethereum and token mining would be better served for the People's Republic of China if it were put into Bitcoin, because they've got a big war brewing with their communist neighbor.
You mean the Russians? Yeah.
Or they're collaborating. We don't know yet.
Well, I always felt, even though Bitcoin was neutral, it doesn't mean it couldn't be used for political purposes.
Oh yeah.
And so if Bitcoin is not controlled by anybody, it works outside of the incumbent system, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to see these nation states attempting to co-opt Bitcoin to use it for their own purposes, because it's not like no one can stop them. And if they're a communist country where they control the electricity, they control the power, they control the companies, it'd be to their advantage, because I think a lot of these nation states are looking for a way out of the dollar, because I do think that the dollar has been king for a very, very long time. And not everybody wants the dollar to be king. Not everybody wants the U.S. to have such economic power. And this worries me, because I think this is leading to what I would call what I would think is now been a cyber warfare, or economic warfare in conjunction with cyber warfare, that I think has been going on for maybe the past decade.
You're familiar with what the BRIC countries are, correct?
Yes, I think that's India, China, Russia. Am I missing a country?
The B.
I want to say Brazil, but I know it's not Brazil. It's Bulgaria.
I actually think it is Brazil.
Oh, it is Brazil. Okay, I
But
thought it was more closer
they're just not as big of a player as they once were now. Yeah, all four of those countries want to get out of the petrodollar. They're trying to basically unseat the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. So it goes along with what you're saying, considering the countries involved in that discussion and in BRIC.
Right. Well, Bitcoin's gotten kind of big in Brazil, and I don't know how much of it is really taking off compared to Venezuela, but it is a South American country. It is also, interesting enough, Venezuela being a communist country, one of those another communist countries that has taken on Bitcoin as a way of managing their money. So it's kind of interesting. You're seeing a lot of these communist countries take on Bitcoin.
I have a whole new story I'm going to write for CoinDesk, which is going to cause the price to fall even more. Communists use Bitcoins to further subjugate their people and try to take over the world.
It sounds beautiful, man. It sounds beautiful.
So Bitcoin's only used by despots, dictators, terrorizers, and us good folks shouldn't be part of it.
Well, that's the thing about being neutral. And, if you're neutral, that means anybody can use you for whatever purposes they desire. And I think that's coming to somewhat fruition now. So let's move on to the next subject here. Oh, I got here as the dead cat bounce, dead cat bouncing. Have you
Wow.
have you heard of that? Have you ever played the game Kitten Cannon?
No, no. I saw it from your show during the week, but I had not played that. It looks fun.
You know, it is fun. After, well, you know, there's no strategy behind it. I mean, you're just like moving the angle, then the power meter goes up and down, and you just click a button, and you try to, you know, you're just playing with it, right? It's pretty much random, but it's fun to watch the dead cat bounce. And what I'm noticing, or what I have a sense of feeling as far as the market, is that we're getting into a series of where this is a dead cat bounce. I don't know. Maybe you could give me your opinion on the market, on pricing, and do you think this is a recovery, or is the price going to go higher? Is it going to go lower? What's your take on it?
Well, um, as we approach the 2x, I think people are going to get scared. I think there are going to be some folks that leave the market, and we are going to see the price go down as we get closer to 2x. If a week afterward everything's okay and nothing goes wrong and everybody's happy, we'll see the price go back up some, and then before Christmas gets here, we're going to see the price go back down, because there's going to be folks that cash out to take some profits for Christmas presents. And there aren't going to be too many people buying because it's the end of the year and you don't want to increase your tax liability. You probably wait until after the year changes for that.
Well, actually, what some people do, depending on what they did with their other investments, they actually might buy to have a lower tax liability. And then after the tax year, then they dump because they have to wait a whole new year before they file taxes again. That's kind of like a trick that you can do. Like if your tax year ends on December 31st, right, you hold on to your Bitcoins, because as long as you hold on to them, they're not taxable. Then right at January 1st comes rolling around, because Bitcoin can be traded 24 hours, 7 days a week. Christmas, New Year, doesn't matter. Hanukkah, whatever. You can dump right on January 1st, and then literally your tax year ends the next December 31st. So you would have to wait a whole year before you pay your taxes on the gains that you made in cash. So there might be some uptake, but I doubt it, though. I think a lot of people made money this year. I don't know if they're willing to buy back in. But yeah, let me ask you, Brian. I've been doing this hashtag Yes2X. I've been talking about the bear market. I've been using my memes. Do you think that's really having an effect with other people on the market?
I don't know, but for some reason over the past week, 2 weeks, I've really felt like I think that SegWit 2x is a good thing. I think we should have it. I say yes to 2x.
Are you being serious, Brian?
And this is what can happen if somebody doesn't know what you're talking about, James. You could do that to somebody if you're not careful.
It's scary, isn't it? The power of the meme.
Yeah.
I think there's some truth to the power of the meme. Or it's either the meme is very powerful, or people have gotten more stupid. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this point.
Also, part of it's instant gratification, and hashtags make people believe that it's a good summary of the point being made. You know, a lot of people don't read a lot of things. They look at the hashtags, especially if they're not quite for sure who the girl is or what this means. But, you know, maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe folks are a little less intelligent I sometimes think we're, as a society, dumbing down because of our technology. That's just me.
I have to.
When I was younger, I memorized like 30, 40 phone numbers, right? I barely know phone numbers that I call 2, 3 times a day.
Oh, Brian, I so relate to you. I rely on the internet so much. Like uh, the technology that we have, which is called the internet, the smartphones, or maybe laptops. I have to admit, I rely on it so much, I don't even bother remembering anything. And maybe it's just the way we're programmed as humans, because before all this information, we had to actually remember shit. Like I had to remember like how to drive from here to the grocery store, or from here to Dallas, or here from California. I actually had to remember that. I had to buy a map and plot this out. I had a plan, like how to drive from here to here, and I have to remember like the streets, and have to remember where I am as I'm driving, where I'm getting from place to place. I remember those days before GPS. Now with GPS, I don't even bother remembering anything. The nice thing is I can travel to more places and feel comfortable about where I'm going without worrying too much. I have more time to think for myself, things that I want to think about or things that I want to concentrate. But you're right. In order for me to do that, I had to give up a part of my brain power to remember things, you know, and it's a give and take here. But overall, I think if the day like we had no internet for a very long period of time, we would all be dumb. I wouldn't know how to cook my special soup because it's on the internet. Whenever I want to, well, actually no, my barbecue sauce or my rub, my barbecue rub sauce comes off the internet. I don't even know the recipe, but I've made it like dozens of times. And each time I make my barbecue rub sauce, I literally have to go on the internet and look it up again and then make it from there, even though I made it. So if I lost the internet, I wouldn't be able to enjoy my favorite barbecue rub. I wouldn't be able to enjoy my barbecue ribs, my a brisket. Oh my goodness, the world would
James,
change for me.
you need to print that out. I mean, for God's sake, you're a man that could hold off a small tactical team at his house, but you don't even have written down your rub recipe.
No, no, that's scary because I always think the internet's going to be there tomorrow,
Yeah.
and that's the scary part.
This is part of your prepping, James. You got to do this as soon as the show's over.
Well, if the shit really hit the fan, I would just literally just do without the rub. I would just eat the barbecue. You know, I would just eat the ribs, and I would just eat the eat the brisket without the rub. I mean, that's what I've come to do that. Like, you ever heard of cowboy coffee?
Yeah, I have.
Basically,
It,
it's hot water and the grains of the ground of the coffee just dumped into it, and you shake it up, and then you let the grind settle on the bottom, and you just sip from it until you get almost to the bottom. You don't drink the grinds, obviously. Then you throw away the coffee cup.
yeah, I've had it. Campfire coffee, cowboy coffee, definitely. But you
Yeah.
see,
So
in they always say in the shit hit the fan situation, it's going to be these little tiny things here and there that you put aside for yourself that's going to give you the mental and emotional crutches you need to make it through.
well, I
So
definitely
get the rub recipe,
I'll
James.
get the rub recipe. There won't be a store to buy from. Oh goodness. I just do without. I just go to the basics. Matter of fact, I don't. There's times I don't even shower for like weeks, and that's how I prep for when the shit hits the fan. I just don't shower for a week.
Well, how are we going to shower? I mean, you should, if you're going to prep different things, that should be one of them. As, disgusting as that might sound to the audience, where are you going to shower when the shit hits the fan? And if you've never been a few days in your life or a week in your life without a shower, how are you going to cope?
Probably not too well. That's for sure. So, all right, I think we we've gone really off track here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the last thing we wanted to cover was Flashcoin. So,
Yes.
Brian, why don't you tell us how we got into Flashcoin?
Oh, randomly saw a Reddit post that said there was going to be an airdrop of Flashcoin on the Coinami wallets. So I was like, hey, James, I don't know what the heck this thing is, but we're going to get some free ones since we use Coinami wallets. And we got them. They airdropped them. They airdropped like 7,000 of these Flash coins in 2 installments, a 2,000 Flash coin and then 5,000 Flash coins. And they did that for everybody who gave them the address, who signed up.
Awesome. Yeah, you sent me a message about it was a Steemit post, I believe. So Steemit, the social site Steemit is useful. The token not so useful. But I saw that and it said, download the Coinami wallet. Of course, you and I both have the Coinami wallet. Here's a the chart for Flashcoin. Also, the ticker is Flash, and then you can see it's a really stable price of almost nothing, which is okay. And here's the website. What I think we had to sign up for Slack with Coinami, and we would have gotten 2,000 Flashcoin. And then if we signed up with the Slack on Flashcoin, Slack on Flashcoin, we would have gotten another 2,000 for basically a total, or was it 3,000?
Well, actually, I'm starting to think that the match was more than just 2,000 because that second receive that I got was 5,000 and the first one was 2,000.
Okay. I signed up, and you got your Flashcoin before I did. And by the way, we're not endorsing Flashcoin. We're
I
just
think it probably sucks.
we're not endorsing Flashcoin. We're just talking about how we got some free coins, and we both are Coinami users, and it's just something for us to experiment with. We're not telling people to buy it. We just got some free airdrop because we're in the crypto space and we just got word of it. It's too late. Is it too late to get an airdrop?
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's too late to get an airdrop. This has been a few weeks now.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to talk about it quite yet until after I got my coins, and you got your coins before I did.
Yeah.
I just realized I got the coins, so I finally looked on my Coinami wallet to say, I wonder if those Flash coins ever came around, because I signed up for the Slack on Coinami, and I saw other people complaining about not getting their coins. I didn't do a screenshot of my QR code. Maybe that was the reason. Slack is kind of new to me. It was a bear for me to sign up in the first place, but I just I typed in my address key, and so that was that's what I did. Maybe that's what took them a little bit longer, but I ended up getting 5,000 Flash. How much did you end up getting?
Well, 7,000.
Wow, you got a lot more than I did. So
yeah, there were two drops, a 2,000 and a 5,000. Now, if you were smart and you had more than one Coinami wallet, then you got more.
Did you? I'm assuming you did. You did something
like
that.
I just created a Coinami wallet just for that airdrop, an additional one, and so yeah, I've got 14,000 Flashcoin.
Wow.
Now, let me tell you something. I got to do some experiments, right? Because they're in two different wallets. So, one with the 2,000 for the first drop and one for the 5,000 on the second drop. I sent them as a zero-fee transaction to consolidate them. And not only did it go through at 0 fee, it went through in within 2 minutes, it had 3 confirmations. So their claim that they process microtransactions quickly is true. Very true. Or at least now. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody uses it probably.
yeah. I'm looking at the website here, and it looks like their total 24-hour transaction is only 2,274 Flash coins, and their average transaction time is 37 seconds. It's 37.99 seconds.
That's inaccurate. Oh no, that's the total number of transactions. Never mind.
Oh, is that what it is? Total number of transaction, not the total amount? Okay,
Yeah, because
so,
I sent over 5,000 before the show as that
oh,
test.
okay. I
Yeah, so
guess,
it's got to be a number of transactions.
okay, maybe you're right. So transactions in 24 hours. So that may be the number of transactions. And there's a circulating supply of 9 million, and they're worth 104 Satoshis. So
Wait, does that say 900 million?
900 million, yes, circulating
Okay.
supply. And
Wow.
there's a lot, but I think it's designed and meant to be used as micro payments, like
Maybe
literally.
they're trying maybe they're trying to take the niche that Doge tried to fill, the tipping coin. But I'll
Yeah,
tell you one thing, if you get Flashcoin, don't think you can shapeshift it because I tried to change it to something else through Coinami and it wasn't even listed. Shapeshift does not support this at all.
yeah. I'm looking through the website, and it says here that it was designed for small payments with low transaction fees, which would be zero, according to you, which is very low. High speed and throughput while retaining its Bitcoin, Litecoin heritage and functionality, which I think all altcoins are basically. Let me see here. It's supposed to be very low. I'm not sure how if this is just nodes running this, or if there's any mining. I think the mining might be over because they already got 900 million coins out. But it says here they got let me see, 25,000 transactions per second on a $700 i7 computer, consuming 80 watt power, 80 watts of power. So I guess they're trying to be eco-friendly. Fixed supply, which is I think 900 million. Zero inflation. Let me see, high volume, no slush fund for developers. These are the wallets, Coinami, and then Coin Payments. They have their own wallets right here, which you can all download. And then let me see, I think the only exchange they're traded on is Cryptopia, or what I like to call sometimes Craptopia, depends, what you want to call it. But if you wanted to trade your Flash coins, you probably need to trade them on Cryptopia, which isn't that hard. All you need is an email. I'd recommend using two-factor authentication. I believe. Do you remember Thomas Gutierrez?
Yeah.
He got his Cryptopia hacked. Yeah,
Really?
and apparently he had two-factor authentication to log in and to withdraw, but they still seem to manage to get into it. And apparently, if you transfer from one Cryptopia account to another Cryptopia account, that's an internal transfer. You need to set up a two-factor for that as well. I
Hmm.
don't know if that would have helped him, but apparently he said he lost like 2 Bitcoins, and at the time, well, a little bit over 2 Bitcoins. That was about $10,000. And I do believe him because I signed up for Cryptopia because I talk to Yellow Fever for You all the time, and he always tries to get me to buy into some altcoin. But I just signed up for it. I didn't do any two-factor. I didn't do any. I just looked it up so we can talk on the online together. And he's telling me about all these coins and everything. So we're just shooting the shit. But my account was attempted login 3 times and it got locked out. So I know that there was somebody out there trying to get using other people's emails, checking if they have Cryptopia accounts,
Hmm.
and trying to obviously hack the password.
Right, right. Wow. I'm sure there's somebody out there trying to hack every different exchange from everybody they could find. So it doesn't surprise me actually that it's being done with Cryptopia. But man, I wouldn't advise anybody go spend any money on this Flash coin. I'll tell you that. If you didn't get some for free, just don't rush out. Don't even go out. Don't buy it.
I mean, I think it's uh, experimenting with altcoins and everything and playing around, getting them for free. Definitely do that. I mean, don't buy these what I would call shit coins, and they're called shit coins for a reason because really they're worthless and they don't really do anything. I do appreciate the Flashcoin community for doing the airdrop and letting us play with it. There's obviously I'm showing you the webpage if you want to check them out. Feel free to. There's nothing wrong with checking out coins and playing around with it. And I'm a big fan of Coinami, and I know Brian is. So we, because of Coinami, we're able to have Flash coins. But in the end, the problem with altcoins is they're new. You don't know what bugs or exploits are in these altcoins. The other problem is even if it's a good development team and they start getting volume and their blockchain start getting used, they've never been tested. In other words, they've never been attacked. And usually these attacks don't come until they gain significant value. And then only then do they come under attack against hackers. And they may, ransom, I wouldn't say ransom, but hold hostage this blockchain. They may spam it. They may find an exploit to the point where they're holding the community at hostage. And, that's the problem with altcoins is especially the untested altcoins. I don't know how long Flash has been around. Let me check here. Looks like they only been around since June, maybe. It doesn't really say on their website, but this chart only goes back as far as June 26 of this year.
Yeah, no, I don't think they've been around like before that either. There were previous coins that have come out with the moniker of Flash, and I don't know if they're related, if they were like the early prototypes or, whatever. But I didn't get to go fully into that. Flash coin. I don't remember the name of the other one, but this isn't the first Flash.
Okay. So far, I'm only getting one.
Try new
Flash. Or new Flash. Okay.
Okay, never mind. There's a New York coin. That's interesting.
All right. There's a coin just for you.
Right? That would be the Bronx
you're right,
coin.
a Bronx one. Let's check out Bronx coin. No, looks like no Bronx coin. So that may be a coin that you can make.
Right?
But we don't know anything about Flash. It may have been rebranded from another coin. You may be right. There's a lot of that going on, where coins are being rebranded. So they were dead coins. Now they're rebranded, and the white papers have been rewritten to fit I guess, to fit the time in which everybody thinks this is, the mindset of people want to buy in. So if you're an investor, be very critical about altcoins, and try to learn as much as you can before you put any money into it. So.
Yep.
Oh, Brian,
I've learned the best way. Oh, my word of the day? Propaganda.
Yes. Propaganda. That is a good word for the day. Propaganda. Now go ahead. What were you saying before?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But the one thing I find interesting is the use of propaganda. Like you said earlier, preaching to the choir. Guy who tweets out this evidence of JP Morgan Chase buying Bitcoin. Why does he do that? Because he wants to show everybody that JP Morgan Chase actually has faith in Bitcoin, which he hopes will have the price go up, right? Propaganda.
Yes, there's a lot of propaganda going on in this space, and unfortunately, I don't know. Are the millennials dumber? or is the technology has it made them dumber? Because you would think that what you see on the internet has truth to it, but as I'm been in this space, and even mainstream media has some propaganda to it where the information is not 100% true. It's been prepped for consumer consumption. It's being fed to you to have a different thinking, have or a certain thinking into a narrative. And I think when people come into this space, or just people in general, think about what's being told to you and does it make sense? Because you could be fed some bullshit, even and especially on YouTube. You could be fed a lot of bullshit, and you need to protect yourself. If this is one thing I've learned from being a Bitcoiner is don't trust everything. Verify, question everything. All right, be critical, scrutinize, and only then, when it meets your satisfaction, then you could start trusting just a little bit of what's being told to you.
Yes, that's very sage advice. I hate when I forget to unmute my microphone. It's something that I cautioned people to utilize with my very first video, and that was due diligence. I didn't exercise due diligence when I first got into this space, but now I find it's one of the most important things you should do. Not just in this space, but anytime you try to invest your money or your resources into anything. Diligence. You don't want to waste your hard-earned resources, whatever they may be.
Good advice, Brian. Well, we're a little bit over the hour period. Do you have anything that you want to share, or any news, or anything that you want to conclude with?
No, I think my word of the day pretty much summed it up for me.
Okay, excellent. All right, so this concludes this episode. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Appreciate all you stopping by and chatting away in the chat box. This concludes this episode, so feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, everyone, stay tuned. Bye-bye now.